so many of the things that we talk about, whether it be Epstein, whether it be J6, whether it be the Boston bombing, whether it be the Oklahoma City case, we keep turning up all of these instances, which seem like horrific tragedies and are horrific tragedies, all of them, including Jeffrey Epstein. What was done to those victims and those young girls is absolutely unconscionable. And yet it always seems that when you scratch the surface of these things, and I could list a dozen more, you find some very strange intelligence ties. So Mike Benz, you've really been pushing this one so hard. And by the way, not just in terms of what people speculate may be a blackmail operation, but also financial and funding. That's something that gets totally overlooked when people generally talk about Epstein.
Well, this is the most important part of intelligence work, is how do you actually fund the network carrying out the covert action? How do you actually arrange for that funding? How do you secretly broker it? How do you launder the money to conceal the illicit origin of the funds or the secret nature of the funds? And this was Epstein's primary vocation and specialty above all. It was taking huge pools of donor money, brokering deals and everything from air transport and logistics to pharmaceutical and public health to universities. And all of these have these huge touch points. I mean, just a line item of a few strange CIA parts of the Epstein story. You had the fact that he started his career right when Iran fell in 1979. He's at Bear Stearns. He goes on to handle the Bronfman family portfolio, the family office, effectively, of the Bronfman family, which is just effectively a very influential but quite deeply mafia linked family.
Well, the Bronfmans eventually fund Seagrams, and interestingly enough, with the Bronfmans, they get involved in another sex cult scandal years later.
Yeah,
the NXIVM scandal. Yeah,
that's right.
And I've talked to victims of that and had direct conversations with victims of that, and that's just a totally crazy situation that it ties directly back to Epstein.
Right. But Epstein was, by his own testimony in 1987, he gave an interview and said one of his top clients was Adnan Khashoggi, who was the CIA middleman between the U.S. and Israel and with respect to Iran-Contra. And, if he's handling sheltering assets for Adnan Khashoggi, and Adnan Khashoggi is the world's most prolific arms runner and the top commission agent of Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and everyone else, and the whole affair rides on this guy, and his money's being handled by Jeffrey Epstein. That's a pretty big node for the CIA to have to know about, given that that's the linchpin of their operation. And then what's used in Iran-Contra for smuggling the drugs and guns and cash to fund that illegal war? Well, it was Southern Air Transport, a CIA proprietary airline. In 1994, Jeffrey Epstein negotiates the transfer of Southern Air Transport, that very CIA proprietary airline, to move from Miami, where it was doing Iran-Contra work, to Columbus, Ohio, where Jeffrey Epstein was given a giant townhouse, and that was where the Limited was headquartered. The Southern Air Transport, the CIA airline, moved directly to Columbus specifically to service Jeffrey Epstein's company, or at least the company he had durable power of attorney over. When Jeffrey Epstein bought Little St. James and all of his property in the U.S. Virgin Islands, that was also one of the seat of operations for Southern Air Transport, the CIA airline, because the money laundering funnel for Iran-Contra started in the U.S. Virgin Islands before it was pushed out to Swiss and Panamanian bank accounts. You have this whole network. I mean, I could go on forever about this, but the fact is we have an OD&I push right now to try to tell the underside of the iceberg of what has been very visible American history, from the JFK files to the Martin Luther King files. And I don't think that we should limit OD&I's declassifications to the 20th century. Now, obviously, what Tulsi has been doing has been completely fantastic around Russiagate. She has run laps and is stunting on the Durham investigation, which was completely tepid. Tulsi has done more in just a few months than Durham appeared to have done in his whole lifetime in terms of investigative research of intelligence files and including them in Justice Department referrals. But the fact is, the Martin Luther King story has very strange intelligence adjacencies, just like the JFK one. I mean, we had the CIA ties to the JFK assassination on the front page A1 headlines of the Washington Post just a week and a half ago with the Joe and Needy story. Tulsi just put out 230,000 files on Martin Luther King, which again it is also these very strange intelligence links from Martin Luther King being shot and falling into the arms of a guy who he thought it was his friend and bodyguard, but turned out to be
And
undercover CIA.